Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and of course, with me on the right side of the camera is my co-host of this weekly podcast, known as Fuzzy Belvedere. We are going to spend the next 75 plus minutes here. We have two absolutely massive topics to talk about, one of which is literally, ladies and gentlemen, a game changer, and that is, of course, Xbox giving us as Xbox fans the ability to not only play cloud gaming with Game Pass, but next month the game is changing in a big way. You'll be able to play every one of your purchased games. I think that is absolutely massive. And of course, the marketing for Call of Duty Black Ops 6 in full gear. It was obviously in Japan. It was also, it was here, there, and everywhere. Everywhere there was a billboard, especially here in New York. You saw it in Times Square. And listen, it's a really big deal. I really think that this is going to hit super hard. I know that we've seen advertising, at least I have, on my TV. Like, when you turn on your TV first thing in the morning, and of course they're trying to sell you the world. Well, one of the first things that flashed on my screen a couple of times in the last few days has been Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And of course, there has been some marketing for it being on Xbox Game Pass, and there was a new, I think it's like 11 seconds commercial that they put out today talking about it being available on cloud gaming and why that's important. Because of course, yes, for anyone that's a Game Pass player, without this new implemented thing that they're doing next month, we'd be able to play because it's in Game Pass. But the fact that you're going to be able to play it via cloud gaming is absolutely huge. This is a really big deal. I'm super excited to be here, but the other topic is one that you're not going to hear anyone else, folks. I'm super proud of this. A good friend of ours, both Fuzzy and myself, that works in the business, gave us some behind-the-scenes information about Marvel's Blade that Arkane Lyon is making. And, man, I got to tell you, if there is one game that has gone under the radar that no one's talking about, because there's not that much information, it's Arkane Lyon's Blade. Again, we're going to go over the information that we currently have. I did pull an article from Games Radar. We'll give you who wrote it in a second. But Fuzzy, how was your weekend? I spent more money because I keep buying games. I have in my cart, as we speak, Predator Hunting Grounds and Starship Troopers. And for the love of the gaming gods, I can't stop. I just can't stop buying games, and I don't have the time to play anything. This weekend, I rocked 15 plus hours of Metaphor Refantasio, and that game has changed my life. You know what I did, folks? Because I'm a fan, and this is what nerds do. All right, so I don't mind putting myself out on the nerd pedestal here. So I bought the game digitally, and I actually didn't pay a penny. I literally cashed in 95,000 points. I had nearly 300,000 points, the Bing points. Yes, those actually work. I'm closing in on back to 200,000, so I'm starting to get not sweat as much, because anything under 200,000, I get nervous because you never know when there's going to be a console dropped in your lap, so you got to spend the money. And so I didn't pay anything, and then I had gift cards. My birthday was obviously in September. I had gift cards from last holiday. I tuck away in the sock drawer and usually forget that they're there until moments like this. And I bought the collector's edition as well, the physical collector's edition, and it's nice. And you know who I blame for that? Ains from Seasoned Gaming. I blame you, Ains, for this. You put it on display. I saw that beautiful collector's edition. I was like, these gift cards are burning a hole in my pocket. So that's what I wind up doing. But Fuzzy, how you feeling? How was your weekend, man?
Oh, I'm feeling great. Glad to be here with you. Went to Crystal Lake, the actual Crystal Lake that Friday the 13th was filmed at.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah, we got to hear some of the history of it and how they accidentally stumbled on the particular campground that they used. And they're like, yeah, this is kind of run down. And back in the day, it was like, oh, well, how much would it cost to film here? And they didn't really seem interested, but they came up with like a $25,000 check back then, and the rest is history. And Jason lives on. No, but that was a lot of fun.
That's really cool, dude.
Been playing a lot of my back catalog stuff. Finally got around to Scorn, which it was that creepy but yet interesting looking game from probably a year or so ago.
After
But,
that third puzzle, I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm sorry.
well, I've looked at a few guides to kind of help me through some of this. Some of the stuff is easy, but some of the stuff is like annoying or frustrating. But going through some of the guides, clearing that out in my back catalog, going through, still playing Shattered Space. Actually, even wanted to kind of piggyback on the space and sci-fi aspect with the Outer Worlds and stuff like that. So looking at that again, and just playing some of the older games. I know I need to dive into the expansion for Diablo, and I'm still playing Forza Horizon 5, collecting cards, which I'm like 810 unique cards now. But yeah, there's too many games right now, and I'm gonna hold off on adding to the backlog. Metaphor is definitely on the list here soon, but yeah, I gotta figure out where it's gonna space in at. But I think it's gonna be like a holiday game for me at this point, between that and Indiana Jones and stuff. But man, just awesome gaming stuff going on. Can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, you know what? Listen, I want to start with Blade. Blade is a game that, well, it was announced at the Game Awards, right? Basically took over that particular Game Awards, and I believe that's 2023, if I'm not mistaken. They were, as much as a lot of people don't want to admit it, Xbox ruled the roost, and certainly the conversation during the Game Awards 2023. I expect that they're going to once again take over the Game Awards this year. Now, are they going to have anything at the Game Awards to show? Possibly. I mean, again, we'll be talking about this as we get closer to December and to the Game Awards. We'll have our annual prediction show as we always do. I'm wondering if inXile's time traveling romp is going to be there on display. I mean, they keep talking about Clockwork Revolution. We haven't seen much since its original showing. It obviously did skip all of the shows so far for this year. It wasn't at the big show in June, which I was very surprised, but they did say that they had to pull some things because the show was just too big. So maybe we do get a reveal of that during the Game Awards. That would be pretty dope, because again, they're openly talking about it almost every other. I mean, again, that whoever runs the social media for inXile are legendary goats. They just goat them right now because they're hilarious. So I'm very much looking forward to see what's going to happen there. But Blade, for me, is first of all, Blade is on the tips of everyone's tongues or minds now, thanks to, and again, spoiler warnings, folks. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to kind of close your ears, because we're going to talk about something that particularly happened in Deadpool and Wolverine. If you don't want to hear it, here's your opportunity. If you haven't seen the film yet, plug your ears, silence the podcast, because massive spoiler. I'm just giving you the heads up right now. If you missed it, I've seen Blade. I have seen Deadpool and Wolverine 3 times. I bought it digitally. I'm going to buy it physically because usually the physical ones come with a little bit more extra stuff on the back end. I love that film. I think that it really does. It's a love letter to anything and everything of Marvel and Fox. And even though I wanted more cameos, we got a ton. And those cameos, again, I'm a big nerd, so I listen to podcasts not only for video games, but for comics and for comic movies as well. I listen to the Den of Nerds. Josh, I love you, brother. That guy is amazing. And of course, Charlie from Emergency Awesome, another absolutely fantastic YouTuber that you should follow. And well, Blade was as one of the big cameos, and that's Wesley Snipes came back as Blade. Now, we've heard a lot of some of the behind the scenes stuff during Blade 3 that Ryan Reynolds and him didn't get along. That hatchet was buried thanks to Ryan Reynolds reaching out to him after 20 years and saying, hey, this is what we want to do. We want to bring you back. And it's made so much money. It's the 7th highest grossing comic book film of all time. It is the highest grossing rated R film of all time. And that obviously gives Ryan Reynolds a lot of clout. And again, we're hearing that Wesley Snipes is going to be coming back as Blade once again. So obviously that we transition that, Fuzzy, into, well, Blade. Now, Blade is a game that is coming out. It's being made by Arkane Lyon, the studio director Dinga Bakaba on Twitter actually had said this is his presser. This is his quote right after the announcement of Blade. And there's a lot of cursing here, so I'm not going to curse. I'm going to abbreviate if you don't mind, folks, because we try not to curse on the show. It says, "Thank you so much for watching our announcement. Let's do a single-player immersive sim hybrid with all of the S we love. Okay, let's make it a Blade game in third person in our own crazy version of Paris, or our version of Paris. And someone, as someone, somehow this fever dream effing happens. This is surreal." Now, look, he goes on to say, Fuzzy, "We're going to stay silent for a while. So before they put blank and I on the back in the box, or back in the box, let me just say this as it's an absolute blast to work on. Hats off to the team. You are really effing killing it. I've never been so excited for a project, and I'm not crying, you're crying." Meaning that obviously this is a big deal. This is a big deal for him. It's a big deal for Arkane Studios. It's a bigger deal, I think, for Xbox and Bethesda as a whole. As we know, this is a first-party game. This game, I would imagine, eventually is going to potentially make its way over to other platforms. But I would imagine, and again, I'm just spitballing here. This is no breaking news or anything, folks, that we can assume that it's going to launch on PC and Xbox first. Very similar to what is happening with Indiana Jones. This is a licensed IP from Marvel. And I don't know what the contract is because I wasn't in the room when they signed it. So again, we're just making assumptions here. But we know all this information. You can go and you can follow Dinga Bakaba like I do and get all the updates for Blade that are going to possibly happen in the next couple of months or so. Because obviously it's not happening this year. Maybe it's next year. Maybe it's the launch of the console in 2026. We don't know. What I can say, though, Fuzzy, is you and I have a mutual friend that does work in the gaming industry. And we did get a chance to get some behind-the-scenes information that I find to be awesome. Again, you're not going to hear this anywhere else. We are in a private DM. Obviously, no names are being mentioned of who we spoke with, because obviously it's private, but we were given permission to let this little tidbit out of the bag. And he goes on to say, and let me just get his exact quotes here. He says, "Hearing they are experimenting with a morality system with Blade. Yeah. All I know is that it's something like maybe testing a morality system similar to something like Infamous, but no idea if the decision has already been made or not." Now, this is a big deal. Infamous, obviously, was made by Sucker Punch. There was a morality system there where you can go good, like I did when I played it on the PlayStation 3, or you could be a dark side prick and kill everybody in your path. And of course, that is awesome. Now, Blade obviously is a anti-hero character. He is a vampire hunter. He doesn't really have many, I would imagine, many interactions with humans. I mean, he does, sure, but his main focus is on vampires. Now, for me personally, this is great information because it's going to allow the player to take a darker path, potentially. Remember, this is what a good friend of ours actually heard. Now, could that change? Possibly, sure, but this sounds intriguing. It's different. Do you just go all good guy for Blade? Do you go somewhere in the middle where you do kill some humans, that you do go over and cross the line? Or do you go totally Dracula? I don't know how that's going to work out. But why this has me excited is a couple of reasons, Fuzzy. One, this is a third-person game. And Arkane Studios is known for first-person immersion type of games. And we know all of them, right? Dishonored 1 and 2. We obviously have Prey. What was the last one that they did?
Deathloop.
Deathloop. Thank you, kind sir. Deathloop was the other one. All first person. No ability to play in third person. This is a third person action adventure game. I'm super stoked for it. But see, that's not for me as a comic book nerd that appreciates where this could possibly go. Because yes, this is a story about Blade. It's taking place in Paris, which is awesome. Again, obviously, Arkane Lyon in Paris, in France, right? So that's freaking awesome, in their home turf. But if you are a fan of Blade outside of the films like I am, you know that he's part of a team called, oh my God, I just went through my tongue. The Midnight Suns, ladies and gentlemen. The Midnight Suns is a team of supernatural heroes. You have Punisher, who's been a part of it. You've had Ghost Rider be a part of it. You've had Moon Knight be a part of it. There's been quite a few, obviously members over the years. There was an isometric game that was Cognito's game of the generation that just happened with the Midnight Suns, well, called the Midnight Suns. And look, I'm not saying, and this is not behind the scenes stuff, folks. It's just me spitballing here. If there was an opportunity to bring in some characters that we have not seen in the game, this is an opportunity to bring up potentially maybe a cameo from a Punisher, maybe a cameo from a Moon Knight, maybe a cameo from the Ghost Rider. Again, this is a vampire story, but it doesn't mean that you can't involve the Midnight Suns at some point, at least just as a cameo. And if anything we know about Marvel, they love their cameos because they want to sell you stuff with the character that's on it, right? Let's get your hot take on your thoughts, theories, and your excitement for Arkane Lyon's Blade and the new information that we got from our mutual friend.
I'm really excited. From the announcement, I was excited for this game, and the fact that they're trying a few things that are a little bit different than what they may have had in some previous games, and going possibly with that morality system, or at least in talks of implementing something like that in the game, I think gives you a rough idea of the amount of choice or the different paths that you can take within this game. And I think that's going to be a key thing moving forward, where I don't think this is going to be like a one and done, in the sense of, I don't think we just get the one Blade thing. And I like what you're saying as far as the potential for cameos and such, where there could be a sequel or a continuation of that Midnight Suns group for future titles. But having a morality system or having something like that in there, it's something that I kind of feel should be in a lot more games than what it is currently. Same thing with like the Nemesis system to some extent, but that gives you, the player, the opportunity to kind of live out your fantasy as Blade in an RPG like sense to some extent, without it having to be a true RPG. I know a lot of people try to say that, oh, well, Spider-Man's an RPG and so forth. Action RPG, I'll give you that type of thing. But for the most part, having those types of choices that could affect the ending or affect the power-ups or different weapons and abilities you may have. You cross somebody, now you might have somebody that's always trying to hunt you from the vampire side type of thing. So it definitely throws a nice mix into the game, something that's going to be a little bit different than what we've seen, from Xbox studios, or just a lot of studios in general at the current moment in that new game. But fingers crossed we see this before this generation ends, or even if it's like a cross-gen, you have your series consoles, they'll play it awesome, and whatever the next Xbox is, maybe even the handheld, so that way you can take it on the go. I can't wait till this game is in my hands, ready to play. But that tidbit on the morality system, I think that's a good insight into what they're thinking about this and where they may take this, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, we don't have much information. Now, the story that I originally pulled, let me see if I can find it over here. Now, this, again, of course, I want to give credit is due. Gamesradar.com. This was written May 10th. So this was written just last couple of months ago. And it was written by Sam Loveridge of the site. Now, I don't know Sam's work, but obviously I saw the article. This is the one I pulled. And of course, we give credit where credit is due. And it says Marvel's Blade, everything we know so far. And again, a lot of the information that we've already discussed is here. But of course, I want to, if I pull the article, I want to take time to at least read it and give credit where credit is due. It says Marvel's Blade was one of the big surprise announcements at the Game Awards 2023. And oh boy, did it go down well. In development at Arkane Lyon Studios, and of course, these are the makers of Dishonored and Deathloop fame. It is set to be an original story based on the Blade comics, featuring now iconic coat and glasses of the Marvel resident vampire himself, well, Blade. Now, this is a big deal because we know that Mahershala Ali is working with Marvel literally as we speak. And that announcement was many, many years ago. I'm almost disappointed that we don't have a new Blade. They've had multiple directors. They've had multiple people that have written the scripts and left. Unfortunately, the tale is a bit in limbo. Now, with Mahershala Ali involved, I think they're going to get this done. It was a big announcement. He is an Academy Award winner. One of my favorite films that he was in was The Green Book. If you've never seen the film, I've watched it a dozen times. It is so freaking good. And he would make a magnificent Blade. But I mean, there's no doubt that Wesley Snipes is the OG, and I think a lot of people, including myself, could give Wesley a tremendous amount of props because it's his Blade films that I think honestly set it off for comic book movies as we know it. I think that he's one of the originators, and I'd love to see him come back, and I think he is going to come back in a big way, whether that's in Secret Wars or some sort of his own solo film would be dope as well. Because obviously, if you saw Deadpool and Wolverine, he makes a particular comment. There's only been one Blade, and there will always only be one Blade. So, which was kind of dope and a great moment for him, to be honest with you. But getting back to the game, I hope, and I'm being honest here, I don't know if it's possible, and I don't know if I would imagine that there's been talk about it, Fuzzy, that they bring Wesley in to potentially voice it. Now, maybe they don't because this is a different Blade. Maybe they get someone else. And I would imagine that's definitely a possibility. But I'm very excited for this game because it's third person. I would have been okay, I guess, with first person. But to be honest with you, I think where we want to see this game is in third person. I hope the whole game is in third person. It's exactly an action adventure romp that I'm hoping for. But the story goes on to say all we've had so far in Marvel's Blade is pretty minimal. He's not wrong. But what we do know is that it's sounding very appealing. It's a third-person, single-player, mature, original story set in Paris. And while we don't expect to see Blade join the ranks of new games for 2024, which, of course, obviously we don't, we do expect to hear new information in the coming months. The studio has well and truly caught our attention with its slick Marvel's Blade teaser trailer. And obviously, it's all red and black, as you would imagine that a trailer like Blade would be. It's just here. Finally, for now, we'll round up everything, what we know about Blades, from the studio behind it to any other information given by Arkane Lyon at this early stage in the development process. And obviously, like Dingo was saying, they went silent. We have not heard much. That's why I wanted to open up the show with this, Fuzzy, because no one has heard anything. They're hard at work. Obviously, this is heavy news. It's from someone that a good friend of ours that we trust indubitably. This is not from somebody's friend of a friend of a friend. We actually know this person personally. So if there was someone to believe, well, it's this individual. And any final thoughts on Blade?
I think the biggest thing is going to be the just the atmosphere, like knowing how well the Arkane has been with designing their worlds. And I know some people will be like, "Oh, well, Redfall, that's fine." But look at Prey, look at the Dishonored series, even look at Deathloop. As far as the traversal, the different paths you can take throughout the area, it's not a true open world, but it winds up being substantial enough that you can roam around and take different approaches as far as how you attack things. I think that's going to be one of the key things outside the character, obviously Blade, but I think that how they style their world is going to be a character in itself, and knowing that they're going to use their artistic, kind of spin on it, like what we've seen so far from like the trailer. And yes, I know it's just a trailer; it's not really gameplay, but that gives you a kind of a sense or a feeling of where they're going to head or take this. So I can't wait to see their interpretation of the world and how they bring this to life. But man, I'm looking forward to any more drips and drabs of info that we can get on this. But it's they've got their heads down, they're busy at work. We probably won't see this until I'm going to say 27-ish range,
maybe.
So we'll see where it goes. But I'm so excited. I can't wait until, because Phil was always like, we don't need licensed games, and so glad they had the Indiana Jones lined up already with Bethesda, and then having Arkane kind of grab this one as well. I'm hoping there's more in the license genre that they're working with, like whether it be Disney or other IPs and things like that. But Blade's one that I'm so glad that they're making a game for it today. Well, in the near future for our consoles. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, it's Blade, and we don't know when the film is happening. But if the trajectory is anything to go on, Blade came back in a big way in Deadpool and Wolverine. They're working on a film. I know that they're writing a script for it right now. I don't know if they found a new director. You could see the film release right alongside the game, right? Like these films take years to make, the games take years to make. So it could be either in the same year or one after another, keeping everybody's mind excited and fresh about the Blade character. Look, I'm stoked for it. This is great information. Big thank you to our mutual friend for trusting us with this information. Hopefully you folks enjoyed this topic, but we got to get into the big topic of the show. And that is, of course, Xbox Cloud Gaming getting a massive change in November. Now, this particular story I got from The Verge, and well, with that, it was written by Tom Warren. Now, this was written on October 11th. Now, obviously, this happened on Friday. Here we are, Monday. We're here to talk about it because this is a massive, massive change for cloud gaming. One of the, I think, biggest complaints outside of the cloud gaming itself not being the greatest bit rate and running fantastic every time you've played it, kind of like something like I want to see the service get to something as good as like GeForce Now, which GeForce Now is just phenomenal. And I think they're going to get there. And I think that this announcement is huge simply because, well, there is a big game coming out that is going to be an Xbox Game Pass day and date, and that is Call of Duty Black Ops 6. We already got it. We've got confirmation that they literally dropped today that Black Ops 6 is going to be available on cloud gaming the day it releases. That is massive. But according to The Verge's story, and I want to read it verbatim, it says Microsoft is planning to support the streaming of Xbox game libraries next month. Sources familiar with Microsoft plans tell The Verge that the company is getting ready to test the ability to stream games that you own that aren't a part of the existing Xbox Game Pass library. It goes on to say, as part of a long-running project known as Project Lapland inside of Microsoft, the studio giant has been readying its XCloud gaming servers to be able to support streaming thousands of games. And I'm told Microsoft will first test its new Xbox Cloud gaming streaming capabilities with Xbox insiders in November before expanding them to more Xbox users with more games made available. It goes on to say, Fuzzy, the xCloud gaming expansion comes in the same month Microsoft plans to enable game purchases in its Xbox mobile app for Android in the US. Microsoft is able to do this thanks to the court ruling earlier this week that forces Google to stop requiring Google Play billing for apps in the Play Store on November 1st. I mean, look, Fuzzy, this is a monster deal. And again, we have confirmation that the way it's supposed to work, folks, is if you were to purchase a game on this Xbox mobile app, you will be given, well, permission, because now you own the game, to immediately start streaming that game via the cloud. How big of a game changer, pun intended, is this?
Oh, it's huge, especially considering the amount of console games that a lot of people probably have in their library currently. Like the fact to be able to take your games on the go and stream them while you're on the road, whether you're at the hotel, on your phone, or on Wi-Fi at a friend's house, or you brought your Steam Deck somewhere and you're running Game Pass like through the cloud or through the browser and stuff. Anywhere that you decide to stream games that you were using before through Game Pass Ultimate, you now have access to the library that you own. And that's going to be huge in the sense that we know some games very either rarely come to Game Pass, like some of the older Activision games, although they will be eventually coming to the service. Rockstar games, it's almost like a fight every so often, seeing some of those. But if you already own things like Red Dead Redemption, or if you already own Grand Theft Auto, you won't have to worry about the next time it comes to Game Pass to stream it. And you don't have to worry about having it loaded natively on a device, because some of those games will take up gigs, hundreds of gigs of space, especially some of the Call of Duty games. So just having that access to your library, all the games you've bought, let's say from 360 on, or even the original Xbox One or the original Xbox generation all the way to now, just being able to load it up on your phone or load it up on your ROG Ally or something along those lines, and stream it on a Wi-Fi connection or cellular connection on your phone. It's awesome. Like, now it makes having Ultimate that much more of a value, because you have not just the stuff that's in Game Pass and being able to stream that, but stuff you've already purchased, stuff that like I miss when the Division was in Game Pass. Like, that was like probably the best times, because there were so many people that would try it out, get in the queue and be able to go on missions with us and stuff like that. Having it now where anybody that owns it can stream it as well, I think this will allow more games that you may not see in Game Pass on a regular basis be able to get a lot more attention. And it's just an awesome thing. And I can't wait for this handheld. Xbox needs to, after this announcement, they need to tell us more about this handheld when it's dropping. So yeah, I'm so excited about this.
I want, on the back end of this conversation, I do want to talk about Handheld, because I got some thoughts and theories, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. But I want to continue reading some of the article that was, of course, written by Tom Warren. It says Xbox President Sarah Bond revealed yesterday that starting in November, players will be able to play and purchase Xbox games directly from the Xbox app on Android. And it says this: once Microsoft's work to enable a full game library in Xbox Cloud Gaming is complete, you'll be able to purchase an Xbox game on Android and immediately stream it to your device. Now, the article continues by saying Project XCloud, which I actually like XCloud, to be honest with you, better than Xbox Cloud Gaming. I think XCloud is just more hip, I guess, if you will, for an old man like me. It says Project XCloud was supposed to launch with the game library streaming in 2020. Microsoft then announced it would support your game library on xCloud Gaming in 2022, but it never launched it that year. I understand that the work has been completed by having to prepare key infrastructures for thousands of games instead of hundreds that currently exist on Xbox Game Pass. While thousands of games will soon be available through Xbox Cloud Gaming, I'm told some publishers will hold certain games back due to licensing requirements or deals. And I kind of thought that might be an issue for some games, but I think that the majority of your games are going to be playable there. And maybe if there is a particular game that's being held up by a publisher for licensing, Microsoft, I would imagine, is going to try and work out a deal so that every game that you've purchased as a consumer will work on their platform. Let's hope that happens. It also goes on to say, finally, Microsoft is also working on a browser-based Xbox mobile store that it was originally planning to launch in July. And we had actually heard that from Sarah Bond during that interview. that never transpired because obviously things change in business, and that's perfectly fine. It says the store will initially include deals and in-game items, but will grow to cover first-party games eventually. Microsoft said in August that testing had begun on the web-based mobile store and that work is progressing well, and we will have more to share in the immediate future. So, I mean, look, they're changing how we play games, folks. They've been at the tip of the spear for years. Yes, they're in third place. Yes, there's a lot of people that don't play on Xbox because they left during the Xbox 360 and went to PS4 and never looked back. Yes, have people from the Xbox community left for multiple reasons, like, oh, I don't know, PC being a better place to play because it gives you as a consumer the choice of how you want your game to look. If you have the spendable money, you can make a $5,000 rig. And I know a lot of friends that actually have $5,000 rigs, which is great. And if you want to play on PC, you have the ability to do so, which is awesome. We did see a lot of people from the Xbox community leave because of choices that the company is making that they didn't do back in the days, and that is putting first-party games in other locations like PlayStation, for instance. Now, again, I'm the old guard. You've heard my feelings on it. I don't like it, but I have to learn to accept it. It's just a part of business. For me, tip of the spear is always going to be Xbox Game Pass because, again, having that is exactly how I opened up the show with. I have purchased way too many freaking games in the last couple of weeks to the point where I just want to punch myself in the face. I know that I like on Friday, I bought Dragon Ball because the FOMO overtook me. And I'm not that I don't love Dragon Ball, because I do, but I haven't even freaking played it. It's crazy. But, you know, such is life. This is what happens when you support multiple platforms. You buy a lot of games. And like I said, I'm a retired dude. I have a great pension, but it has a ceiling. So I'm very cautious, but I'm not going to front. When the show is done, I'm heading over to my Xbox that's idling as we speak, and I'm going to purchase from Predator Hunting Grounds and Starship Troopers because, well, why the hell not? But that commercial that I talked about, that was 11 seconds with Call of Duty Black Ops. It's 11 seconds, folks. It's not much, Fuzzy. But it is a commercial that if you just pause right at the end of it, in the 10-second mark, in the 10-second frame, from 10 to 11 seconds, and you see all of the devices that are there, one of the things that jumps off the page for me is the handheld, and it looks to appear to be a ROG Ally, which I have, which a lot of people have. It is a phenomenal little handheld that does a lot of big things. Getting back to your point, this for me, and this is just me speculating, folks. This is me not, breaking any news or anything. This is just my personal opinion, so please take it as such. That integration of the handheld, which again, ROG is a Microsoft partner. They have partnered together. They work together. Tells me, and this is just a feeling I get in my belly, that come the Game Awards, we are going to get the official announcement on what the Xbox handheld looks like. I mean, look, just follow the breadcrumbs from leadership to simple, ads on the socials, or different people talking with other people in the industry, like we were able to talk to about Blade today. There are rumblings that handheld is closer than people want to give it credit for. And I've said this before. If there's one thing you can both applaud and criticize Xbox for, is being ahead of the curve. Sometimes they're ahead of the curve in ways like streaming services for games with Xbox Game Pass. I don't know, something like the Zune, for instance. Mrs. Boom still uses it. One of her favorite devices. It's a great device. They canceled that. Windows Phone is another one. Ahead of the curve. they canceled it. And sometimes they are so ahead of the curve that things just don't work out for them. This is one of those instances that, and again, Hargeet and I had an opportunity to talk with quite a few people during the June event. We got a chance to rub elbows with some serious Xbox people. And again, no names here, because again, this is all private conversation. And we heard a lot of things about what they want to do, what they're working on. And the handheld is literally on everybody's mind. Phil's talked about it. Sarah's talked about it. Every journalist that you trust and know, like Jez Corden and Tom Warren, have talked about it. This thing is happening. It's not about if, it's about when. Mm-hmm. I really honestly believe, Buzzy, that this upcoming Game Awards is going to play out something similar to 2019 when we saw the Xbox Series X for the first time. I want to get your thoughts and your theories.
I definitely agree with you on that. There's these two things that they've done recently that really signify that this is the direction that they're headed, and it's probably close. One was about 6 months ago where they had it where you can do multiple Wi-Fi settings that you can save. And it would not really interfere with like your home console and stuff like that. So if you're taking your Series S on the road, and let's say you go to this particular hotel all the time because you do conventions there, or your job takes you in that location quite often, having that secondary, Wi-Fi setting saved makes it so much easier to be able to, plug it in and start gaming. So that kind of signifies that they're looking for portability and have it where it's not going to interfere with the coding or the operating system that they have currently for the console. So that option says that there's a handheld that they probably have in the wild that they're testing, and that was probably a roadblock to some extent where it would keep on reverting back, or it would overwrite the old one and then you come back home and it's not syncing or something like that. They kind of fixed that before anybody asked, type of deal. So that one, Mav and a few others are like, yeah, that makes sense if it was for a handheld. And then this most recent thing with, and they've talked about it for a while, where they wanted to have it where you can stream your owned games. That's been, something that we've all kind of wanted, or at least have access to our own games through, cloud gaming to some extent. But it's the greatest way to attack your backlog while you're on the road. So that way you can have the games that may not normally install on like a handheld or something like that because of the space that it takes up. You can now clear out that backlog a little bit easier with the games you own by just looking at your library and stuff. I think all of these signs and some of the other moves that they're making it easier, where whether it's through the browser or through a mini version of like the Xbox app on PC, all of these things seem to be pointing towards a handheld or some sort of portable, where whether it's you can put their OS on a ROG Ally in place of what comes standard on that, or overwrite the Steam OS if you wanted to, or do it as a dual boot, which is probably the easiest way to go. Or for their future handheld, there's definitely something going on the software side of things and some of the behind the scenes stuff that would make things more convenient for a handheld in the lineup. So I really hope this Game Awards, we get that, like you said, the same, Series X unveiling of a handheld. I already codenamed it, and a lot of people said the same thing. Just call it Xbox Series Go at this point.
That's actually pretty dope. I like that name. Hopefully you get paid for that if they use it.
if they use it, just send me one, comp me one. No,
absolutely. Let this man review it, damn it.
No, but having that handheld, I think, is going to be that next big step. And they can't really sit on their laurels too long, because, not that they're going to be in direct competition with the Switch 2, but you don't want the Switch 2 to get all of the oxygen in the room on the handheld space. Because when that thing drops, everybody and their grandma is going to probably buy one, if not two of them, before the holidays, or it'll probably come out March next year. But whenever they put that thing up for pre-order, the Switch 2 is going to be selling like hotcakes. So why not have something that would be maybe not necessarily considered the more mature or the more grown up portable, but one that would have access to PC games, one that would have access to the console games that you already own, and have that where it's all combined on one device, plays things natively, can also stream if necessary. Yeah, I think that's where Xbox needs to continue moving forward, where they're going to blur the lines between PC and Xbox, and make it easier for those that have libraries on both ends of things to take them wherever they want or play them wherever they want, type of deal.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, look, I'll say this, and I've said this before. When I opened up this particular topic, I discussed Xbox sometimes being too ahead of the curve. Well, that's what I want to back end the conversation with. Sometimes they drag their heels. This is one of those instances where I just did a search in Gadget, right? I did a search of the best gaming handhelds of 2024. And they have here so many. I'm like, just off the top of just pulling down the article, I've already gotten 6 or 7 of them, like handhelds. And we're in a position right now where if you are a PC gamer, you can easily purchase one of these PC type of handhelds and feel right at home, like Keosante does. Like right now, Keosante currently has my ROG Ally because he's doing things with it that just I didn't have the skill to do. So he did me a favor. I sent it to him. He's going to be shipping it back, and we're going to be golding. And I'm going to literally use it as a docked thing for the TV because I don't have a PC that's strong enough to run any of these games, nor do I want one. I have the money to buy a PC like that. PC gaming is just not my bag. But as many upswings and upsides there are to ROG or the Steam Deck or the Lenovo or any other, pick your favorite handheld. It's very PC-esque. That's just not my personal bag. Where I kind of hope that they don't continue to drag their heels here, Fuzzy, is because the handheld market is getting incredibly crowded, right? We know all the handheld PC level handhelds that are available currently, and they're all great for one reason or another. Some better than, maybe some people like myself. I like the ROG and its usability better than the Steam Deck because I've owned both. The Steam Deck I sold it privately. I got the ROG. I like the ROG, and I can run through it with no problem. But you mentioned the Switch 2. Now the Switch 2 is not going to be as powerful as the ROG Ally. It's gonna be nice. We're all gonna buy it. I'm getting 3. One for me, one for Mrs. Boom, and one for Tyler. I'm good for 3. But I think that if this thing doesn't come out next year, it's a mistake. If they don't unveil it this year, in my opinion, it's a mistake. Now, I don't have a marketing degree, and maybe I'm off kilter here, but I do think that there's something to be said about getting into something too late. See, they notoriously get into things too early, and they get all the arrows, right? They get all the arrows and the rocks slung at them. This is one of those instances where I hope it doesn't take until 2026 to get a handheld, because I think we're in a position now where if they show it in December, just like they did with the Series X, a year from now, holiday of next year, you got your new handheld. It's Xbox branded. It basically plays and starts up just like your current Xbox underneath your TV, whether that be the S or the X. And then, of course, in 2026, all hands on deck, eyes focused, the new console with all the games. And I think it's a winner chicken dinner at that point. What are your thoughts?
I definitely think they need to release it fairly soon. Like it's just one of those things where the timing couldn't be better at this point. Because the thing that they don't want to do is wait for the Steam Deck 2 or the ROG Ally 2. The ROG X is kind of like the in-between with the bigger battery and a few other tweaks. So It's like kind of like a mid-gen refresh. But you don't want to wait until the ROG Ally 2 and the Steam Deck 2 hit the market. Because if you do, I mean, if you think things are crowded now, but all things considered, the Steam Deck will still be a very useful and functional thing. Same thing with the original ROG Ally. Same thing with the ROG X. Those will all still be out there and probably go for cheaper. So if somebody's looking for a used handheld for something like in the $200 range, or maybe some of the leftover, still new in box ones will be somewhere in that price point range compared to the newer ones coming out at 6, 7, or 800. But if Xbox can position this, let's just call it the Xbox Series Go, somewhere in the $400 and $500 range, maybe an extra 100 if you get like the what do you call it, the
1
the
terabyte
hub,
drive, or
like the basically a plug-in or a hub where you can hook it to your TV and stuff like
nice,
that.
like a dock.
Yeah, dock. Yeah. So if they price it at that point and release it before the next generation of the PC handhelds, I think that's where they'll make the killing. They're probably not going to make that big of a dent in the Nintendo sales. Nintendo's marching to their own drum, and they're going to kill it either way you look at it. But as far as with the a portable Xbox, I think if they can release it or at least announce it this holiday, have it in hands roughly around the same time or similar time to the Switch 2, but beat out like I said, the Steam Deck 2. I think that's where that would be the perfect storm for them, because they'll have games for 2025 year that we're all looking forward to. Plus, you can now probably take them on the go. Plus, you'll have the stuff that'll be coming in the near future, which will still be able to play on that handheld, even if it's the next gen. It may not be 120 frames or whatever. It'll still they'll have it where it will be still a useful device, much like the Steam Deck is currently, much like the ROG Ally is currently, and Legion Go and all of those other PC handhelds. So yeah, they definitely need to put it in our hands before holiday 2025. Because if it's already out in the wild and then still on the shelves, or new stock is coming in for the holiday of 2025, then they have another big push for the holidays. But something, let's say between March and June, so that way they're not directly in the line sight of the Switch 2, but they'll definitely beat out a lot of the other PC handhelds that will more than likely start popping up shortly after.
Great point. Listen, I have one other thought and theory that I want to lay on you, but before I do, let me catch up on super chats. We have over here Adidas 20, generous friend of the program. Adidas, what's up? I want to salute to you, brother. He says this after dropping a very generous $2 super chat. He says, "What's up, Boom and Fuzz? Dr. Pepper wrap incoming." As much as I really appreciate, and I don't drink the regular one, I drink the diet Dr. Pepper because I'm 54. So any pounds I lose, I ain't trying to get back. So I have the diet one, but I usually, almost 9 out of 10 times, my drink of choice is a ginger ale, Seagram's, to be honest with you. I like Seagram's with a hint of lime. That's actually my drink. I do like Dr. Pepper. I do. It's one of my favorite drinks that I've moved away from since a lifestyle change. I don't drink dark sodas anymore. Neither does Mrs. Boone, for that matter. But appreciate you, 20. Thanks so much for that. We have a good friend of the program who's been a channel member for a whopping 31 freaking months, and that is Leonard Herrera. Leonard, thank you so much for always being here, brother. And thank you for the generosity. He says, let's go Xbox Portable. Yeah, we all need that in our lives. We do. Highlander 001, generous friend of the program, says this after dropping a very generous $5 super chat. He says, "Boom, I'm having bypass surgery on Thursday. I plan to play Call of Duty with my son using my ROG Ally. I just want to stream from my Series X." Well, first of all, good luck, fingers crossed, and best wishes, prayers, hugs, and everything to you and your bypass surgery. Hopefully, the doctor, and I think everything is going to be fine. Obviously, technology these days make these surgeries like they're nothing, even though it is something big. So, of course, many prayers to you and your family. You're going to be fine. I'll be checking in on you. I'll DM you, brother. We also have here Michael Mooney, all the way from the other side of the pond, drops a very generous £5 super chat. And Michael goes on to say, the smarter move would be to have an Xbox version of Steam OS for handhelds, PC consoles, TVs, and tablets. So that brings us, and that particular quote from Michael is why I want to before we get out of here, drop this thought theory onto you and get your hot take. Does this Xbox handheld or the Xbox Series Go, because I like that, need to be open-ended? Does it need to be like a ROG Ally or a Steam Deck, meaning that you have access to your Steam library as well as the Epic Game Store, kind of like what they are planning, rumors, of course, for the series? Does it have to be similar, or does everyone be okay with just an Xbox hand? What are your thoughts?
Good question. I think it would be best if they kept it somewhat open. If they keep it open, that allows a bigger audience to kind of use their device, not knocking the Steam device. I love my Steam Deck, and Steam Deck 2 will probably be an awesome device as well. Same thing with the ROG Ally. But I think that's their way of being the go-to for this hardware, that maybe they have a little bit of an edge with the, a neural processor unit, or like, remember the deal they made with Intel? That might be an AI chip that's used as an upscaler, along with the software stuff that they're working on already for, I think, Windows 12. If they have a MPU in that handheld that can do the AI upscaling, almost like a DLSS kind of thing, I think that would be the way to go. Having the stores open, so that way somebody like me that has a collection over at Steam, a collection over at Epic, already a collection with Xbox, both on the PC side of things and console side of things, that would make them the go-to overall for all the devices. In a weird way, I wish they could advertise more that they do like the emulation on like the Series S and Series X a little bit more in that developer mode, because then you wouldn't have to worry about backwards compatibility on some other devices. But we all know, since it's ROMs, you can't really advertise that. But having it so the store is open to all those other stores, I don't think it hurts them. I think it just makes it so somebody that's in the PC space might consider their hardware a little bit more maybe than, let's say, the next ROG Ally or the next Steam Deck. But I do like Michael's idea as far as that OS, which they have something in beta right now that's almost like the big picture mode for the Steam Deck as well as for your PC. They're working on that actively. Although it's been tested on tablets, it's been tested on other handheld devices like the ROG Ally and stuff. They haven't tried it on TVs. I don't know how easy or difficult that would be. It would be almost like a Fire Stick type of interface at that point, but that would be a good way for them to go, to make it so they have the software, whether it's on your TV, it's on your tablet, on your phone, whatever. You can always access your stuff pretty easily, as well as kind of merge or add some of your library from Epic and Steam. That would be the ultimate goal, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree 1,000%. I think that's exactly how what they should follow. But look, at the end of the day, I think Xbox has an opportunity on a couple of fronts here. And when I say opportunity, this is not console warring, folks. It's just please stay in our lane and just read the room with me. They're in third place behind Nintendo and PlayStation. PlayStation is in a tailspin. They don't have a roadmap. They have a mid-gen refresh that is available still everywhere. Their investment into hardware for their own platform has not gone well, right? PlayStation VR 2.0 is it's a bust. The handheld, again, their portal, their PlayStation portal is nice. That screen is gorgeous. It's just not selling. Right now, if they drop the price at some point, maybe I'll again. If I can pick that thing for $100, I would get it. I'd definitely invest for $100. Same thing with PlayStation VR 2.0. It was $200. I dropped $200 on it just to see and play some of their games. Nintendo is coming off one of their best console launches in the company's history. Right, they're going to pass some of the biggest numbers for console sales that are currently logged in as all-time greats. And they have the Switch 2 coming out. Microsoft finds themselves, I personally think, Fuzzy, in the best position possible. They have made changes to leadership that have done dividends for them. Having Phil Spencer be in charge of Microsoft Gaming, making Sarah Bond the president of Xbox, having Matt Booty in the position he's in, phenomenal moves. Their first party, something that we've all complained about, seems to be hitting on all switches. And their roadmap, and that's the key, their roadmap extends all the way past 2025 into 2026, and we know that the games are coming. Their first party, single-player, story-driven games that we've all been banging the drums to get have been already put out there for us to know what's coming, plus there's a ton of others. So they have the roadmap. They also have, I think, a jump on Sony for the home console potentially in 2026. This is going to be another game-changing console if it's open-ended the way we just talked about with the handheld. And getting back to the handheld, if this thing releases next year, they're going to jump Sony both on the handheld front and possibly on the home console front for next gen. Again, could everything go awry? Has it gone awry for Microsoft in the past? Have they stepped on their own D? Too many times to count, to be quite honest with you. But I don't think they can actually mess this up, ladies and gentlemen. I think that there is a possibility that they could logistically take over the industry. They are currently, whether people want to admit it or not, the biggest publisher in gaming. And mind you, once they get the FTC off their back and they they withdraw their case, which I think at this point is ridiculous, they're going to be on the hunt for something else. Now, what that is, a lot of people like myself would love Sega. I think Sega is a perfect example of, look what they're doing right now. They have put out owning Atlas, banger after banger after banger after banger. But that's before they even start going back into the Sega vault and bringing us back all of those OG games that we loved and played on the Dreamcast. And that is happening, folks. So for me, it's by Sega. It's immediate recognition in Japan. Yeah. Boom, there it is. But the pettiness in me says go for Take-Two and own Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption. And I think that's a possibility. Is it going to happen? Unlikely, because it'd be a massive purchase, but they're going to get somebody else. Yeah. So I think out of the three bigs, Microsoft has the most promise. Now, that's not from a fanboy. That is literally just, hey, stay in your lane. Read the room with me, folks, and look what each platform is presenting to you as a consumer. All right? The least of the three is PlayStation at this point, okay? Because they're not even putting out their first-party bangers anymore. Nintendo is always going to Nintendo, right? They're always going to, march to their own drum, and they're always going to be great. Xbox, in my opinion, has literally the future right ahead of them. All they have to do is open the door and walk through and keep doing what they're doing. But yeah, let me just make sure that we're caught up on Super Chats. We do have a member chat here from Pragmatic Eagle. Now, this is amazing because, first of all, Pragmatic Eagle has been in the chat for years. We've only been doing this, and I say only, I'm not being facetious. Next month, November 3rd, makes a full 6 years that we've been doing the channel. And the channel, again, the 15K, it's a big deal for Mrs. Boom and I because it's a small channel. We have equated 6.5 million views in those under 6 years. That's ridiculous. So honestly, that's ridiculous. That's thanks to you fine folks, because without people to listen, we don't have a channel. But Pragmatic Eagle has been a channel member for 60 months. That's as long as the channel has been around. Pragmatic Eagle, thank you so much for the support, brother. We super appreciate it. He goes on to say this: great afternoon to everyone. Just jumping in to give greetings and well wishes. Enjoy your games and be at peace. Indeed, brother. Thank you so much. I've been enjoying games. Okay, hold on a sec. I've been enjoying a game. Metaphor has taken over my life. It's all I want to play. I literally was playing till it was 11:51 on the clock. I was like, let me just save it. I'm going to get back to it. I've been buying a lot of games to the point where again, it's one of those things that these gift cards are just burning holes in my pocket. So many games this month. Oh my God, it's ridiculous. So thank you so much for the well wishes, brother. Well wishes to you and your fam as well. Listen, folks, again, this show is normally around 70 minutes, give or take. So we're on cue, so to speak. I want to thank well over 600 people that were here. That's really a big deal for us. This is a small channel. People watching across Twitter or X, if you want to call it that, and YouTube. We super appreciate it. A big thank you to all of the super chats and the continued channel memberships that are consistently coming in. We appreciate it more than you could possibly imagine. And of course, do not forget, November 1st is around the corner. Mrs. Boom's, I think it's the 4th annual birthday bash for her. Her birthday, you fine folks get the gift cards, because we are giving away $500 worth of gift cards on that breakfast at Boom. And that's normally when we do our contests, unless we get a few extras that we do, sporadically through the week. But we're giving away 10 $50 gift cards to your choice of platform. That's right, folks. If you want it for Xbox, you got it. PlayStation, Nintendo Wii Shop, even Steam. And for our international viewers, and I'm very proud to say this, and I say it all the time, we're one of the few channels that actually do this. If you win and you're outside of America, we will send you your prize via cash or currency for your country. And we do that through PayPal, only through PayPal, because it obviously protects us. And if there is a denomination value difference, we pick up that as well. We also pay the transfer fee. You pay nothing. So if you win, you win. But let's get out of here, Fuzzy.
Before we do, one quick thing. There's some breaking news as we're closing shop. Web Dave, Shine Films, and Fun Speculation made mention, and then there was a few others that made mention. I guess that third party, the partner showcase is Wednesday.
Well, you know what? Let's hang around for a few more minutes. If you have breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, before we get out of here, here we go. Thanks to, of course, all of the people that you just mentioned. 3-Bit just DM'd me. Mav is in that DM as well. Let's see. How many DMs do I have? I have currently 8 of them. So again, shout out to everyone that has this information. And well, here we go. I'm going to read it directly from xboxwire.com. Let's pull up the article. It says here, let me see. Let me bring it up. Give me a second. We are thrilled to announce the next Xbox partner preview. Our no fluff all games broadcast is coming this Thursday, October 17th. So I have the article here from Xbox Wire. It was written by Joe Scribbles, who is the Xbox Wire editor-in-chief. And it goes on to say this. We are thrilled to announce that the next Xbox partner preview, and again, I'm reading verbatim, our no fluff all games broadcast is coming this Thursday, October 17th. In the latest installment, we'll feature a mix of new and upcoming games for you from our incredible partners like Remedy Entertainment, Sega, 505 Games, and many more, with over a dozen new trailers over the course of around 25 minutes. During the Xbox preview partner event, you'll get a first look at gameplay from Alan Wake 2's next expansion, The Lake House, an action-packed new trailer for Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, a peek at multiple bosses in dark fantasy action, Wu-Chang, Fallen Feathers, multiple world premieres, and other great titles coming to Xbox consoles, Windows PC, and Xbox Game Pass. As always, the Xbox partner preview is all about sharing exciting games, news from our talented partners across the globe. You'll get a new game reveal, release date announcements, and a fresh new gameplay for upcoming titles. And to sweeten the deal, during the broadcast, Xbox Wire will post exclusive behind-the-scenes stories about select titles shown. The event will broadcast digitally on Thursday, October 17th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. UK, across our Xbox channels on YouTube and Twitch, Read on for all of the details you need to know in advance. That is pretty dope, dude. We heard that this could happen. It was a rumor that broke over the weekend. Actually, we were going to talk about it tomorrow, but now we have confirmation, and tomorrow we will maybe do a maybe we'll do like a guesstimation show on what we think is going to be there, because again, there's going to be some surprises. This is great, man. Again, Xbox in the news once again. They had, now mind you, they're following a pattern, because last October they had a partner preview that showed off a lot of really good stuff. What are you expecting from the show?
Well, seeing that Sega's going to be there, and they already mentioned the Yakuza game, I'm just glad that they're continuing to push the Yakuza series on the platform. Great series if you haven't tried it just yet. Whether you like a Dragon, where it was more of like a turn-based, or some of the other ones where it's more of a brawler, definitely worth trying out on Game Pass. They pretty much, I think, have most of them on there now. But as far as like the Alan Wake DLC, I like the fact that they're doing the lake house. At some point, I really wish that they would mend whatever bridges they could to work on something Quantum Break related in the future. I know that they had kind of a Alan Wake and a little bit of Quantum Break stuff in Control for some of their DLC. So it'd be nice to see if there's any Easter eggs for Quantum Break in this upcoming one. But man, it's talk about game after game after game. It's like every time, or I would say every month, there's a new announcement for games either coming to Game Pass or a showcase where games are coming to the platform that don't normally come to the platform. So it's awesome seeing that they're firing all cylinders now. And I think there's even more breaking news. We got a super chat from Hargeet.
Yes. Yeah, actually, I started writing that story. I saw that this morning. So let me just read the member chat and the super chat here. Well, the member chat is from Web Dave. Obviously, he was a former member of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. Dave, salute to you, brother. Thank you for all the love and support. 31 months as a channel member. We truly appreciate the generosity. He says, "Great show, Boom and Fuzzy are the best." Well, thank you so much for that. He says, so a rumored new Xbox showcase soon, ? Well, that just happened. So there you go, Dave. Maybe before the Game Awards. I hope it's true. Hit the like button. Very kind of you to say. And the other breaking news that happened this morning, big changes to leadership within Xbox. We're going to get into more particulars and what that means, because again, I'm writing that story as we speak. Hargeet Chani drops a very generous $5 super chat, and Hargeet goes on to say, also breaking news, leadership change for Xbox Game Studios Rares. Craig Duncan is to take over for Alan Hartman, who has announced that he is retiring. Now, Alan, if you don't know who he is, he's been with the company since I think 88. Like, wow. So good for that man to retire, because I retired early. I did my 21 years as a police officer, and I was like, yep, I'm out. And it's nice to be retired because I get to do this 5 days a week. So it's great. But yeah, we're going to get into more particulars on what that actually means, who's going to be taking over for Rare. I think if I read the story this morning correctly, it's going to be a dual leadership role for Rare, like a co-leadership on who runs the studio. Actually, it's funny that happened. Well, it's not funny because obviously he's retiring, but there's some new information that came the way of the Xbox 2 podcast, thanks to Jez Corden, and Rare's new game that we haven't heard from in a long while called Everwild. And apparently they have figured out the game loop, and the game is happening, folks, which it gets me excited, because listen, I know a lot of people like, but Rare, it has been years listen, whether you love them or like them or hate them, and I love Rare, I honestly do. Sea of Thieves is a massive hit, and they've been working on quite a few things. Now, one of the things that they're not working on is my heart and soul, and that is a Banjo-Kazooie game, which at some point, to the gaming gods, please deliver. Phil, I know you're listening, brother. Come on. Give us Banjo-Kazooie. I know Rare doesn't want to do it, but Everwild has me very excited. The trailers, I'm sure, don't depict what the game looks like now or what the game was about, because I don't think they honestly knew what it was about back then, but they do have a direction now. And of course, that information comes the way of Jez Corden of the Xbox 2 podcast and Windows Central. And we're talking about that as well. I'm super stoked for that. Again, a big thank you for everyone that hung out. Again, thanks for the breaking news, all the DMs. Of course, Fuzzy, thank you before we get on out of here that we did get a chance to spend a few more minutes with you fine folks and talk about the breaking news. We'll go into more depth tomorrow. Maybe we'll get some insight. So there'll be somebody that's like, oh, we heard this is going to be there. So maybe we'll have that information for tomorrow's Xbox Factor podcast at 12 p.m. Eastern. Fuzzy, let's sell your brand, brother. But not just your brand. Obviously, we're in the month of, I would say the month of Halloween, and of course we are. Your wife has an incredible podcast that she started about 6 weeks ago called Fright Night with Ferocious Fee. We want to sell her podcast, but we also want to make people go over to your YouTube channel and subscribe there as well. And of course, his YouTube channel is the best place for anything and everything in the racing genre. By all means, sell the brand of where they can subscribe to your YouTube channel, Ferocious Fee's YouTube channel, but follow both of you on social media.
Well, as always, thank you so very much for having me on. Greatly appreciate the opportunity and just, sitting here talking to you about games and in the middle of breaking news and stuff like that and getting to interact with the chat. Just love doing this. It's just so awesome to be able to enjoy this hobby with everyone here. It's basically, I'm a steal Pong's line. It's the golden age of gaming. Yeah, it's above and beyond that now, the way things are looking. But always awesome being on here with you. Always awesome dealing with the chat and interacting and just listening to your guys' thoughts and feedback and everything, and greatly appreciate it. And for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app, formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. But if you're into horror movies or horror video games, definitely follow my wife, Ferocious Fee 78 on Twitter, or do a search on YouTube for Fright Night with Ferocious Fee, and that's F-I for Fiona. Every Friday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on her YouTube channel. We get to talk about movies. This most recent week, we did a comparison between Salem's Lot, the original, versus Salem's Lot, the new one that's on Cinemax. They actually are both on Cinemax at this current moment, but I enjoyed the new one a little bit more. My wife enjoyed the original, but you get to see all the different perspectives we bring to it, or what we've gotten from the movie and what we liked and didn't like, or what we thought was an improvement or a change that we didn't necessarily think was necessary. But for anything horror related, once again, do a search for Fright Night with Ferocious Fee every Friday, 6:30 p.m. And then later on tonight, FSP on Fun Speculations channel, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, new time on Monday, where we get to talk about a lot of the current topics as well as upcoming games this week. Definitely tune in for that. Fun Speculation, Mav, great member of the community. Definitely check out that channel tonight. And then hope to see you guys right back here, same time, same channel at 10 p.m. Friday, or not 10 p.m., sorry, 10 a.m. Friday morning for Breakfast with Boom. Can't wait to see you guys then. Thanks again.
Thank you very much. And again, a big thank you to everyone that tuned in. Super appreciate the support, both financially through the super chats and channel memberships. And of course, just tuning in, hanging out, hitting the like button, potentially sharing this on social media. We do appreciate any like, share, and new subscriber that we get. And of course, we are on the hunt for 16K, and you can get us there by just simply subscribing to the channel. Again, none of us take this for granted. We're here. We have an audience. We are thrilled and so thankful that people tune in each and every day. And again, we'll be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I'm looking forward to that. Again, I'm writing that show as we speak. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day will be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.